Yeah. Now that
Hey, Dan, can you hear us?
Now I can hear you. Hello.
Hey, that was a pretty nice paper shuffle you did there.
no, because we didn't want to all agree.
Yeah, we got all of that.
When I read this, then I can find it. Okay. Okay, we're good. As soon as Jen gets back, I don't have my iPad at all.
Oh. Is yours in your room?
No.
There's only one on there, so I'll give it.
Do we know who's online too? I'll get those names.
Jamie Sharp and John. Jamie
Sharp.
and John. Looks like are so far the only ones.
John
Koosman. It was K-U-Z-M-A-N.
Oh, Koosman, okay. And that's it?
That's all that's on there. I'm not sure if they want to testify, so we'll have to
Okay.
find that out in a minute here.
Okay.
Okay, why is this?
Huh. It's going to be really hard to see.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. It is Monday, August 31st. All three commissioners are here. We have a public hearing to take place. This is a public hearing to consider a request by Subdivision Marker, Inc. on behalf of Dale and Kathy Lee for preliminary plat, irrigation, and drainage plan for Oakley Estate subdivision. That's case number SD 2020-0003. We do have individuals here in the meeting room. There's only one signed up to speak. And there is that have WebExed in, Dan Lister, who is a planner too for the Canyon County Development Services. Trish Nielsen is the director, and she is here in person. We also have John, I don't know, is it Koosman?
Hold on, get pretty muted.
John?
Yes?
Do you wish to testify?
I was just wanted to hear what you guys have planned. I see this. I don't know what I can say. I have a couple ideas, but.
Where's your audio?
Well, the thing is if you want to testify, we need to swear you in.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, and are you for or against?
I'm for, but some things have to happen to make it a nicer thing, you know?
Okay, so you're against?
He said he's for.
Oh.
I don't mind it there, as long as there's some things that I don't know how you guys have it planned out, you know?
So we'll put you in for neutral, and then we can get you sworn in, okay? Jamie?
Yes.
Do you wish to testify?
Yes.
Are you in favor or opposed?
Opposed with the way it is existing
Okay.
right now.
Okay, thank you. And Brian Chick, are you there? Do you wish to testify?
Hear you.
I know, but I can't hear what's going on.
Can you hear me?
Oh.
Yes, I can.
Okay, there. Yeah, I'm against.
You're against, and you're going to testify, so we're going to swear you in, okay?
All right.
Okay.
also a Valerie Manley.
Oh, Valerie Manning? Manley. Valerie,
Yes.
do you wish to testify?
Yes.
Are you for or against?
Against.
Okay, very good. We're going to swear you in just a second here.
One call-in user with 208-890.
Okay, your phone number, you're calling in on WebEx, it's 208-899? 890, 208-890. Name, please.
Hi, this is Colleen Matisich.
Okay, Colleen, very
I don't
good.
want
Do
them
you
to
wish
see.
to testify?
Thank you. Yes, probably.
Okay, are you for or against?
Again?
Okay, very good. I think, do we have everybody, Jenna? Okay, so we have Brian, Valerie, Jamie, and Colleen against. And John Koodman is neutral. And Darren Taylor is for this. So at this time, we will swear you all in.
Tricia Nelson, Darren Taylor, Dan Lister, John Koopman, Brian Chick, Colleen Matisich, Jamie Sharp, Valerie Manley. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do.
Yes, I
do.
Very good. Okay. Dan.
Good afternoon, Chairman White and Commissioners. I'm Dan Lister, planner for DSD. Before you is a preliminary plat request, SD 2020-003 Oakley Estates subdivision. This plat of land, as you see on this site plan, was rezoned to an R1 zone in 2016. The plat before you is 54.9 acres with an average lot size of 1.3 acres being proposed. There's going to be 36 residential lots and 1 common lot. And I'll just show you. So this is the preliminary plat. As stated, we already stated that 36 lots and 1 common lot. Water will be provided by individual domestic wells. Sewer will be through individual septic systems. A nutrient pathogen study has been reviewed and approved by Southwest District Health and DEQ. Irrigation has Black Canyon Irrigation District demonstrates that they have water rights for this property. Each water will have irrigation they would have pressurized irrigation to all lots. As shown on the screen, pressurized irrigation will come from be pumped through this little pump area. Actually, it's not shown. It's right here. That little portion on the screen, that little blue area. This is an area that has not been adjusted out of the subdivision yet. So as one of our conditions, we would require that portion to be adjusted. So those structures you see on there will remain on the unplatted lot to the west. So that would be something that would be done as a condition of approval. Drainage on this property, the runoff will be maintained within the subdivision. Stormwater drainage will be routed through swales to 4 easement locations within the plat. This plat would be a 2-phase subdivision. The first phase would be down here, and the second phase here. As you know, Commissioners, we did receive a revised preliminary plat on Friday, and which was it looks like this. The new additions, the new revisions are this stub road right here to Kemp Road. This was something that was required by Canyon Highway District number 4. This would be for future use, so this would not provide access to Kemp Road. It would just be held there for future use. When Kemp Road ever becomes a public road, then at that point, that stub could be developed and connected. Again, there's also a stub proposed on this location here. That will be a turnaround until a Ken stub to development in the future that over on this adjacent parcel, which the owner doesn't own right now. So it's just 2 stub locations to provide future access if and when it's available. Secondly, the fire district required a secondary access for emergency purposes. So the applicant has provided a secondary access to go through here and onto the unplatted parcel here. And it looks like it goes up as well over here. It possibly going this way as well. And so that's a 25-foot canal easement that they're proposing to use as that secondary access, which is a maintenance road. So those are the main changes to the plat. Just to go through the comments real quick. Black Canyon Irrigation District does not oppose the request subject to piping of the C-line canal. And as you can see that on the plat, there's a portion right about here where they have to cross that canal. So there's going to be a crossing agreement and they have to pipe that lateral, that canal. And so they would receive approval by the highway, for the irrigation district and the Bureau of Reclamation. That would be done during the construction phase of phase 2. The one thing, that part of that revision you saw, since this came in on the 28th, the full complete revised preliminary plat, we have sent it over to BCID and they have not had time to review it. And so we do not know if that secondary access on their maintenance road within their easement is going to be acceptable or not. So we do not have that information at that time, and we did not receive a letter saying that they approve or disapprove of that use. Idaho Department of Environmental Quality recommends approval subject to a dust preventive and control plan and also a stormwater and PDES permit at the time of construction. Canyon Highway District did have a lot of comments, as you can see in your subdivision packet. They had comments, plat note comments requiring responsibility of the facilities outside the right-of-way. They had specific dedications they wanted, as well as those stub roads that were identified on that new revision. And then, so staff provided you Exhibit 10, which is a newer letter from Canyon Highway District number 4, which shows that the applicant has met a lot of their requirements. There's some left over, but they believe at the end of the day that can be addressed through conditions. As part of approval of this preliminary plat, they can have that condition and make sure it's completed prior to final plat approval. Middleton Fire District requires adequate fire flows for suppression or fire sprinklers. And then they also require that secondary access discussed. And the thing is, again, this revised plat has not been reviewed by them. They know they've talked to the applicant about this secondary access, but they have not seen it, and therefore we have not received a comment saying if that's acceptable or not. Again, staff also submitted a late exhibit number 11 from Keller Associates. That's our county engineer, and he provided comment basically stating that new access for secondary access doesn't meet county requirements. Our requirements require a 60-foot easement for a shared access of that caliber, and does require approval from the fire and BCID regarding that use along that irrigation maintenance road. And so the applicant would need to meet the 60-foot easement or requested a reduction. The reduction can't be any less than 28 feet in width. So there's some stuff our county engineer has reviewed and feels like it's still missing some stuff. Other comments received as well, as you can see in your packet, we did receive a couple a letter from neighbor Brian Chick about potential uses to well and septic in that area and the build out of that, and also concerns about using Kemp Road. Again, this does not have access to Kemp Road. There will be a stub road, but it will not be used until there's a time where there's a future ability to make those public roads, that Kemp Road public road, where they can connect. As for septic and well, Southwest District Health and DEQ did review the SER report as well as the nitrogen pathogen study, where they found that this would not have wastewater or well water impacts based on this development. The other thing is, during the P&Z meeting, there were comments from neighbors, and the biggest concern was landscaping or some type of buffer between, let me see if I can get to a better screen here so you can see, a buffer between Willow Creek Estates and a landscaping buffer along Purple Sage Road. Their concerns were the development of those lots would be very close to their lots, and wish to have some type of buffer between their lots and the new subdivision, as well as a landscape buffer along Purple Sage Road. Willow Creek Ranch has that landscape buffer along their subdivision, and they feel that it would be more commensurate with the area if they also had a landscaped area, a kind of a common lot area where it's landscaped and matches that existing subdivision to the right. This did go, again, through the P&Z commissioners. At that time, there's letters from the Highway District and Fire that weren't being met, and the commission at the time requested if the applicant would want to continue to work on these issues, and the applicant decided to not to continue it, so that the P&Z did deny the recommended denial of this subdivision due to the lack of information. Before you today, staff is requesting that this be continued. There's still some issues as shown in the Keller letter that was provided to you, that there's just an access point that they're showing as a secondary access point that we don't know if it really works or not without getting some information from BCID and the fire district. And yeah, so there's some corrections, it looks like, that need to happen, and enough time for these agencies to actually review the revised preliminary plat, which was provided to them on the 28th. So it's not a lot of time. And with that, staff concludes presentation and open for questions.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Dan, thank you for that information. I am going to refer to page 3 of the attorney, the Supreme Court decision by Justice Burdick, and on page 3 under analysis letter A, it talks about the ability for the leads to use that stub access to Kemp Road, and I don't see anything in there that overturns his decision that preempts that. What it says is that they didn't include that, and it wasn't recorded. There was some agreement and a warranty deed that the Lees gave the property to the trust for the Kemps, and so that's my first question. Do we have anything that overturns his decision, which was reviewed by 3 other justices and in support?
To my understanding, there's nothing that overturned that decision to not be able to use Kemp Road. With that being said, however, Canyon Highway District is only requesting a stub road to that Kemp Road, which would not give it access at this time. It would just reserve the ability to have access when Kemp Road eventually becomes a public road. And then at that point, it would be in the jurisdiction of Canyon Highway District number 4, and where they could stub it at that point. But until then, Canyon Highway District stated that it would remain closed, and it would not be built out. So it would just remain as a unmaintained area. So there wouldn't be a road there, it would just be a dedication for later.
And that's my point. And then, Dan, thank you for that overview. It says because the agreement and the warranty conveying the property discussed related to the same subject matter, the warranty failure to reserve or create an easement. So there's no, they've denied the creation of an easement for a sub-road there for the lease use of Kemp Road was fatal to their claim. So they lost on the 2 points that the justice said they would have to overcome on them. And so I don't see that legally they have anything that can return this decision from the Idaho Supreme Court.
Correct. You are correct in that. And so it would be something, again, this is something that CHD4 is requiring. It would be something the applicant needs to work out with that board to not require it. Also, we can do the same. However, this so the letter provided by staff, this is just a recommendation letter. This still needs to go before their board for preliminary plat approval. So this is just the recommendation that they're going to be providing, to my understanding. And so this is still something that their board for preliminary plat review has not decided on.
Okay, and one of the things, if I understand it correctly, in the planning and zoning decision, they did not want to be in the middle of litigation and there appears to be kind of a standstill between what Canyon Highway District is recording or requiring and then the cooperation on the part of the applicant.
Right, and through the chair, I think there's a difference between providing access to Kemp Road and then or dedicating a right-of-way to a highway district for potential future access. They're not granting access to Kemp Road at that time. It's just something they're holding for the future. So again, though, yeah, the logistics, the legal logistics is where I think what you're questioning. And unfortunately, I'm not an attorney. I don't know what's the fine line between. Yeah.
And I appreciate that, Dan. I'm not trying to, get something out of you legally. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm clear on what that summary judgment said. So if I understood you correctly also that Black Canyon has not had time to review the plan and that we still have a lack of conformance with the canal easement and we don't have a dust prevention approval yet or a SWPPP.
Through the chair, so the SWEP and the dust preventative plans, that would be something we would submit as a condition of approval during the construction phase. So as part of their construction plans, it would include that information. So it would be something we can condition on that in those cases. But as far as the irrigation easement being used as a secondary access, we're uncomfortable of moving this forward without getting some okay or some comment from BCID or the fire district who has that requirement and proposed to be used in a canal easement. So when I had back and forth with BCID and they heard of something, but they never saw anything, so staff is a little uncomfortable moving forward without their review.
Okay, very good. Dan, I would like, since we have the people sworn in and they've WebExed in and there are people here and everything, to go ahead and continue with the public hearing and then get all their testimony on record. Is that okay? Does that pass muster with the
Yes, I think that's the right procedure.
Okay,
yes.
I'm sorry?
Well, I think that's the right procedure.
Okay, so thank you. Any more questions for Dan? Darren Taylor, you are representing the applicant. And I need your name and address, please.
Thank you. Darren Taylor, 1434 New York Street, Middleton, Idaho, 83644. There's been some confusion and a lot of discussion about this secondary access easement. I'd like to draw your attention to the map in front of you. I'm not sure what it is.
We've got several.
Yeah, we've got.
Which one?
You have it. Dan, do they have a copy of the one that was signed by and stamped by the engineer or surveyor August 20th, 2020?
Correct. It's Exhibit 9.
Oh.
Exhibit 9. Thank you. That's
Oh, that's brand new. That's the revised one?
Yes.
Okay.
So, the applicant, the landowner and myself went and visited with the fire district who suggested this secondary access route, which we have included on the map. So it should be on your map in the big 7.23 acre proposed lot, phase 2, lot 2.
Right.
At the very bottom, you'll see the Sea Line Canal. Above it, it references a 25-foot canal easement. You see that?
Yes.
Now go all the way to the left boundary of that lot, and you should see a 25-foot emergency second access easement. So those two 25-foot easements are side by side. They are not overlapping. So we are not proposing to use the canal road and easement as our secondary access or emergency access easement. They're actually side by side for a total of 50 foot of easement. And once again, the fire district is the one, Victor Islis is the one who recommended this secondary access.
Oh. Could you point that out? I can see that it's little tiny, tiny, tiny. So I can see that 25-foot canal easement.
That's not the way it is.
Darren, is this the same as Exhibit 9? Your one? Okay. So this one is one up.
Oh, is it larger? Okay, then it might be okay. Emergency and the other one, yeah. Okay, got it. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Dunphy.
You're welcome. Dan also referenced boundary adjustment needed to include the buildings that are over here into this lot, the existing house. That record of survey was recorded about 3 weeks ago, so we've done that, and it shows. Therefore, it shows those existing buildings on this map being a part of the house to the west of the development property. So we believe that we've done what Dan said needs to be done.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Darren, can I ask you a question? You have 2 sheds with a dotted line there and then 1 shed. Okay, so.
It's the 2 on the east.
Yes.
That are now included with the lot on the west.
Okay.
The dotted line just shows where the previous property boundary line was.
Okay, so we could make a solid line there that shows the.
Tricia.
Like the property boundary adjustment application filed.
Oh.
I didn't hear you.
The question's been asked whether the applicant filed a boundary line adjustment application with DSD. And I'm not 100% sure, but I will verify that with DSD. My thought was it was like a year ago or 12 months ago, and it just never got recorded. And so I was focused on making sure this got recorded.
Through the chair.
Yes, Dan.
The property boundary adjustment never came in through an application, so the record of survey may have been done, but it was never done through our process.
Okay.
Good to know.
Thank you, Dan.
Also, it was discussed that this is a 2-phase subdivision. It's actually a 3-phase. And you'll see at the top left of the plat map we're working with, it references phase 3, which are the lots along the west segment of Oakdale Court. We have not seen the Keller letter. I think what is being referenced is the county has a standard for 60-foot wide approach, 60-foot wide easement. I think that's what I was hearing. I'm a little unclear, but I'll work that out with DSD. The highway or the fire district, when we spoke to the fire district, said it needs 20-foot wide with 1 foot on each side, 1 foot shoulder. So a 22-foot wide improved surface for its emergency second access. And that's the 25-foot. So we put that in a 25-foot easement, all along the entire south boundary of that phase 2 lot 2.
So this
The
isn't,
fire district just
this isn't the one that, Dan, this isn't the one that you said could not be less than 28.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Our code says it has to be 60 feet wide, or they have to request a reduction, and it can't be any less than 28. If it's any less, then they have to go through a variance process.
Okay. Thank you.
Madam Chair, Dan, is that true for an emergency second access easement?
It's a shared access, so it would have to meet the shared access requirements.
Shared between whom?
Well, it's going on to other people. It's going to on other properties, so it's going outside. Eventually, it connects outside of the platted subdivision where it would grant access. So there would need to be a continued access point that goes onto the unplatted property. Which that was the other question by Keller: is where does it end? How does that continue past the subdivision? So there were some questions there.
Thank you. The fire chief, when we met, said that we should plan to use the existing driveway for the landowner's home, who's actually on this piece. So that secondary access easement leads to this piece, the south boundary of the landowner applicant's home, and approaches onto Purple Sage Road at the existing approach, because the highway district is against granting any other approaches onto Purple Sage Road. So I think the fire district communicated with the highway district and understood that they were trying to just use existing accesses. So if I understand Dan correct, somehow that secondary emergency access easement changes the nature of the driveway approach into a shared drive.
Correct.
If the commission, if this board is so inclined, then we can increase that 25-foot emergency ingress egress easement from 25 to 28 so that we can request a reduction through Canyon County DSD. I will say for the record though, we dispute the characterization that this is a shared access. And we're happy to comply with the process that DSD has in place.
So I'm a little confused here, Mr. Taylor. That is the existing drive of the existing home.
Right here.
Right there.
Is the existing approach on Purple Sage Road. From the
and then as you proceed up there, that's emergency access, correct?
Yes.
So
secondary emergency access for emergency vehicles only. We'll have bollards, knockdown bollards at both ends.
Okay. So according to you, it's only if it's their emergency, and if there's anybody else in there and they need this secondary access, that's not going to work because you said shared with who, and the way I'm hearing this is that will be, because it's an emergency access, it has to be shared unless it's their own private, and then it's not, then it doesn't, either way, you can't do it. So it's got to be shared.
Okay. Thank you. I understand now.
You now?
Yeah.
That wasn't very clear, but thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I forgot to mention earlier, the fire district is requiring that we install bollards at both ends that will be collapsible when the fire truck hits it, they fall over.
Okay, very good.
Thank you. I believe the director had a comment or a question.
Did you have something?
I was just going to say, I think part of our reason is we need to make sure that the easement goes all the way to Purple Sage. Because the existing driveway has got to be recorded.
So Tricia,
having the
Darren,
right to use it for emergency access.
Tricia or Darren, whoever can answer this. So Darren, extending that direction, is that an existing roadway driveway already, or does it still have to be improved?
Both. Yeah. So a driveway does exist at the southwest corner of the existing property with the existing house, but The only thing that exists now is the 25-foot canal service road at the top of the canal. The 25-foot right-of-way with the 22-foot improved secondary emergency access has not been constructed.
And that would not be on the canal property?
Correct. It'll be adjacent, it'll be abutting it, but not on.
Okay, that's what I was understanding. Right. All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor, how wide is the canal that's in there?
Top of bank, probably close to 13 feet.
Okay. And no thought, or did you consider making that a water feature in there instead of island?
Madam Chair and Commissioner Van Beek, the part that's required to be tiled is the part that will be affecting or impacting the development. So it's this. Come on.
You gotta hold your mouth right.
As soon as we get up onto the white.
They disappear. Oh, there.
Yeah, the battery's getting low.
Yeah.
It's only that space that will have the culvert and tiled. Everything else remains open.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. Okay.
It's a canal. It only has water in it during canal season. Right.
Yeah, I can't remember if this is year-round water.
No. But if it's a drain, it could have year-round, but it's a canal, so that means it's only during the irrigation season.
I think my final comments are regarding kind of Commissioner Van Beek's last point, and that is that the landowners, applicants, had a 1997 agreement with the developers of the subdivision adjacent on the east and north called Willow Creek Ranch Estates. And that agreement allowed the Lees, the applicants, to access Kemp Road with 3 approaches, which were paved. And when the developer of Willow Creek Ranch Estates subdivision constructed the road, they actually left gates in their perimeter fence for those 3 approaches. So if you drive out there, you see 3 approaches from the Lee's property onto Kemp Road and 3 gates that can be opened. That was the intent. The homeowners association declined to authorize the Lees to enter Kemp Road, and the Lees said, I've got this 1997 agreement. And the homeowners association, in effect, said, wasn't recorded, so we don't really care and we don't think it's binding. So the 2 parties went to district court and then to the Idaho Supreme Court, which resulted in the decision that Ms. Van Beek, Commissioner Van Beek was referring to. The applicants would prefer to not have any, not touch Kemp Road. And that's in conformance with the Idaho Supreme Court's order. However, the Highway District is requiring right-of-way be granted or dedicated to the Highway District so that at some point in time in the future, when the homeowners association chooses to have Kemp Road become a private road, I'm sorry, a public road, that there will be able to be access through this Oakley Estates subdivision into Osage Road. So even though the applicant has resisted and said, we've got a court order saying we can't do this, the Highway District, after consulting with the legal counsel, and we've been talking about this with them for 8 weeks, and when I say we, the applicant, the Highway District, and our 2 legal counsels, the Highway District still insists that that right-of-way be dedicated. And so you will find it shown on the map in front of you. And Dan Lister noted that as one of his first comments. So we believe that, buffer along the east and south sides. Purple Sage is a minor arterial classified road, which requires a 50-foot half road right-of-way dedication. So, and these lots are rural, and they're rural in nature and size. So we have chosen to not include any landscaping along Purple Sage Road or along the east boundaries. The houses on the lots in this subdivision will look like the houses on the lots in the subdivisions to the east, north, northwest, and west sides of this. So we would request that we not have a requirement that some of the other subdivisions didn't have to put up some sort of landscaping between the subdivision and, of course, along Purple Sage Road.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I have a question, Mr. Taylor. I have read the agreement and the fact that it was failed to record. Why is there so much opposition on this Willow Creek Ranch when there is testimony in the record from Alan Mills, who worked on this project, that said he believes the intent of that was to grant access through those stub roads? So and where there was an original agreement, had it been recorded, then it would be legally enforceable. So what's changed between the time that this originally started in 2015 and today? Why is there so much?
That's a good question. I think it's best left for the people that live in the homeowners association that will be testifying. I would like to have them answer that. Initially, some of the comments we received from the homeowners association board at its meeting were that they invested a lot of money in maintaining Kemp Road, and they wanted this landowner to reimburse them some of the money that they had already spent to have Kemp Road in effect, instead of just joining in the homeowners association and paying dues from here forward. So I think some of it might have been the association's request for reimbursement of some back expense.
And has that discussion taken place?
It ended after about 2 months, years ago. So
I think
that was prior to that litigation. It's just been.
Anything else for Mr.
No,
Taylor?
not at this time.
Okay, very good. At this time, we will have, do I go to the intro?
Yeah, I'll go with that
Okay.
first, yeah.
John Koodman, are you still there?
Yes?
Okay, I need your name and address, and then you will testify next, and I have you down as neutral.
Okay. My name's
Okay,
John Koosman. My address is 9062 Willowview Drive in Idaho.
okay. Nessie Caldwell or Milton?
Oh yeah, it's Middleton.
Okay, very good.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, we are ready for your testimony.
You've kind of answered my question about the access, but it would be nice to have a berm between the east side, like the other person was saying. I mean, it should match, you know. Even going down Purple Sage, I would think so too. That's just one thing I was wondering if you guys were going to do something like that. And then if there's a way that with all these cars going to be coming in, I mean, I can see a difference now is to like maybe lower the speed out there on Purple Sage and make it a 4-way stop at Lansing and Duff, because there's just so many cars going by so fast right now, and I can't see anything being done about it, you know. That's just something I was just thinking about with you guys having the more houses in here.
Okay, any questions for
No.
Mr. Koodman? No? Thank you very much for taking the time, Mr. Koodman.
All right.
Next, we have Valerie Manley.
I'm here.
Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, I need your name and address, please.
Valerie Manley, 9370 Kemp Road, Middleton, Idaho, 83644.
Very good. Please go on.
Okay, well, I know it's been discussed, and it was just recently discussed about the 2017 Idaho Supreme Court ruling that the Lees don't have affirmative right via either equitable servitude or an easement to access and use of Kemp Road. And I understand that they prefer not to access Kemp Road due to that Supreme Court order. I just wanted to just put it on record that, yes, as a homeowner on Kemp Road, I am opposed to any access to Kemp Road by Oakley Estates. I request that any reference to a stub row to Kemp Road be removed from any and all conditions of approval and any ongoing / future Oakley Estates development documents, plat plans, etc. Our concern in the subdivision is maintenance of our own roads in our own subdivision. So that's what I have to say.
Yes.
So the only concern then that you have, Ms. Manley, is that you feel like the roads would not be maintained if there was access given through Kemp Road?
Well, at this point, we maintain our own roads, and it's going to be more traffic, and then they would be a separate HOA. So who's to say that they're going to contribute to the maintenance? So yes, that's part of it. And just the traffic, to have more vehicles coming through. So no, I just want to keep it in our own subdivision and not have access down the road, not to be a stub row. I know at one time there was mention of on the west side, are you still there?
Yes.
Oh, okay, sorry, my screen went blank. Anyways, that there was something, I know that the highway CHD4 is requiring this a stub road, but I thought there was something, and I'm sorry, I don't see it in my notes, and maybe it was something previously that from Darren Taylor's notes, just as part of the exhibits. Shoot, I can't see it, but there was a street, maybe it was it's Oakdale Court, so that's part of the subdivision. So I'm sorry, I'm in error there. I thought that would be the stubbed, but that's actually would be, or would that be stubbed? Could they stub Oakley to the west, Oakley Court, instead of Kemp Road?
We'll have to ask other people for that. We'll have to ask other people for that answer. I don't
Okay.
think we have.
Okay, that was just a note I had here, and I kind of went off kilter a little bit. So, okay,
Madam
that's
Chair,
it. Thank you.
I have one more question. For Ms. Manley.
Okay.
You currently pay HOA dues?
Correct.
Okay, and it was my understanding that there was some discussion about including this development into the HOA dues that are paid, and so
No, not that I'm aware of.
I'm interested in understanding if there was an addition of 36 additional payers to maintain roads and reduce the potential HOA fee. I'm not, were you in on those discussions, and what did you take away from that?
I wasn't in on those discussions, so I never knew anything about that.
Does that make sense, though, if you had more payers on an HOA that joined that it would lower the cost potentially of that? I don't know if that's true, but.
No, I have no knowledge of that, but again, I wouldn't want the addition, them to the additional 36 to join our HOA. They're a separate HOA. We're our separate HOA. I don't want any joining the road between the two subdivisions at all.
Dan? Dan? Hello. Listen, I thought that I read somewhere, and I've just got stuff all around me here, but I thought that I read somewhere that the highway district wants stubs for Kemp in the event it eventually becomes a public road.
Correct. So the stubs don't give it an access. It just holds it through a dedication to the highway district. The highway district holds on to it until a time they can use it as an access, in which they wouldn't use it until Kemp Road eventually became public. But until then, it would just stay as an easement, basically, between those two lots you see on the screen on phase 2. It would just stay as an easement until the highway district can connect it.
Did you, and the applicant knows this, and is this, did they say okay, or is this where they said no?
Well, I think the applicant was fighting it. This is one of the stub roads I think they were fighting with Canyon Highway District. And
Okay.
according to this, when you review this revised plat, they've added it. So it satisfies Canyon Highway District 4. I think as Mr. Taylor said, their legal staff found this to be okay. Canyon Highway District 4 felt that the stub road didn't break the contract or whatever, the approval from the Supreme Court regarding access to Kemp. It's just a holder. It doesn't actually grant access to Kemp Road.
Okay.
Madam Chair, can I ask a question? And I'm sorry for those who are waiting here to testify, because I normally like to hear the testimony before I ask any questions. But I'm looking at the satellite map.
Mm-hmm.
And my understanding is this property is north of Purple Sage Road. Is that correct? And the subdivision we're talking about, go back. Okay, and the subdivision we're talking about is north of this present application. And so.
Correct.
So I guess what I'm seeing is the act or the stub, if it's ever come through to Kemp Road, would give that northern subdivision access through this subdivision to Purple Sage. It's not the other way around. So there,
right.
Yeah. So I guess I was just a little confused because I don't know why people would go from this subdivision north, because it doesn't go anywhere. But it just goes into that subdivision and comes out over on Lansing, which would be a long way around for anybody. Anyway, that was just my confusion. Thank you for clarifying that for me.
Okay, any more questions for Valerie?
No.
Okay, fine. Then we'll move to Jamie. Jamie Sharp, are you still there?
Yes.
Okay, I need your name and address on the record.
Oh, hang on 1 second.
Yeah, your volume down.
You got 2 microphones going there.
Okay, is that better?
No.
Yeah, shut the dog out.
Okay, are you there?
She got both microphones off.
Okay. Jamie? There. Jamie, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me? Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear
Yes, we can.
I gotta turn this up. Can you hear me?
Yes, we need your name and address, please.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm having a really hard time hearing on my computer, so I had called in from my phone, so that was what was going on.
Okay. Okay.
My name is Jamie Sharp, and my address is 9221 Willowview Drive, Middleton, 83644.
Okay. We're ready for your testimony, please.
Okay, so this subdivision that is in question is right next to my property. I live on I live on Willowview Drive, and I'm the corner of Willowview Drive and Purple Sage. I think it's
okay.
Plot number 1 in our subdivision. So this will affect my property greatly. One of my biggest concerns is the density that's going to be right at my property line and the neighbors across the street. And the setback from the fence line is, they have a 20-foot setback from my understanding. So that would allow buildings to be built, houses or shops or whatever, right against our property line. And I'm opposed to that. I would like to see some sort of a buffer, a berm, landscaping, whatever, considering the subdivision has been here for the last 20 years with no one right on top of us. I'm also finding myself really irritated by the Kemp Road situation, and that keeps being brought up when it was ruled in the Supreme Court that they could not access to that road. I kind of sort of feel like there's a degree of bullying going on from Darren Taylor to the homeowners association back there. They have gone through everything the legal way. They've made it known that they don't want their road accessed, and I don't blame them. We feel the same way on our road, but I'm just curious why that keeps getting brought up at all of these meetings. And I also have concerns about the schools. I've got 2 kids that go to school in Middleton, and we're supposed to start school next week, part online, part in person. I've heard that there is issues getting enough devices for all of the children to do their remote learning, and yet I see all of these subdivisions continue to go in with no answers as to how our schools are going to be able to handle the load that that's going to create. It seems to me that the carriage keeps being put before the horses in that aspect. And I would like some answers on that. It's very concerning to me as a property owner to watch development continue to happen when there aren't the amenities in place that are needed to accommodate all of this.
Dan, did you get any response?
Are you still there?
From the? Yes. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, okay, Dan, did you get any response back from Middleton School District?
Through the chair, no. No comments were received from Middleton School District.
Okay. Thank you.
Just a matter of record, they did have a school bond passed recently, so that's just for the record.
So.
Yes, we did have our school bond pass. However, we're still very much in need of funding. That kept us afloat for right now. And I think if you talk to any of the school board members, they would say that has kept us going. That has not put us ahead to handle more families.
Okay. Any other questions for Jamie? No, thank you, Jamie, very much for taking the time to be in this public hearing today.
Absolutely.
And we will move to Colleen. Colleen, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes. I need your name and address, please.
I'm Colleen Matisich. I live at 9222 Willowview Drive, Middleton, Idaho.
Okay. Please proceed.
Thank you. If you could put that, I would appreciate that last aerial view up of the map. Thank you. One of my big concerns is the density along the east side of the proposed subdivision. There are only 2 houses, ours and Sharp's, off of Willowview Drive, and we would be abutting 5 different properties from this new proposed subdivision. That's a lot considering there's only the 2 of us on this side. And without a berm or landscaping, anyone coming into that subdivision, accessing those houses, their lights are gonna shine directly into our homes and into our yards. That definitely will change our quality of life out here, especially since we all live outside during the summers. And as you can see from that aerial view, you can see the berm and the trees all the way around our subdivision, including Willowview on JR Way, which is the second part of Willowview Ranch Estates. When they put that subdivision in, we worked with the developer to put the berm in and to also have landscaping. And in fact, those homes along that are adjacent to our property lines are all single level homes. So we're not getting any consideration for the effect that this proposed subdivision is going to have on our properties, especially Sharp's and ours. So I still would like to see some agreement as to landscape berm along that property line. Also, the 20-foot standard setback is very close. When we've been used to living next to a field for all these years, which I'm thankful for, but still 20 feet to have homes or outbuildings or lights against our property line without any consideration is, I just don't think that's right. The other issue that I have, and I had sent an email to Dan Lister this morning about it, on the Exhibit I, page 15 of 24 of the report from Buchanan County Highway District, there's a plat note that says, add the note that the homeowners association, underlying property owner, or adjacent property owner is responsible for all storm drainage facilities outside the public right-of-way. I want to make sure that that means the adjacent property owner, not to the east of this proposed subdivision. That really needs to be clarified.
Would you say that again, please?
Well, the note says that the homeowners association, underlying property owner, or adjacent property owner is responsible for storm drainage facilities. I just want to make sure that it doesn't, that it's clear that it's not any property owner to the east of the subdivision.
Oh, okay, very good. Okay.
Madam Chair, I think we can clarify that. It's pretty much standard state law that when you do any development, you have to retain all the drainage on your own property. It can't go into the neighbors. That's state law.
Oh, that's fine. I just want to clarify that it's not property owners to the east.
Senator?
Yes.
I have a question for Dan. We're looking at a aerial of this proposed subdivision on the left and then the Willow Creek Estates on the right. And so, Dan, there's a structure that's built. I don't know what it is, but what's the distance from that structure to the boundary line for the development that's proposed?
Okay, through the chair, I have my map up right now. And so as you see, and I'll use this tool right here. So here is the boundary discussed. And so the Sharps property, which is right here, hold on, let me get that going again. There's an easement about 56 feet, maybe 60 feet right here that separates the subdivision from their property. So there's already an easement that's not being used that is that separates their property. And then Colleen's property is approximately, her house, sorry, her house is about 95 feet away from the boundary line of the subdivision.
And then, Dan, where you've drawn that second strike through there, there's some structure. What is that structure? There's a little outbuildings or something there, and I'm trying to figure out how close that is to the property or that easement. There's some.
Looks like a shop.
The shop and that easement, it looks like it was purchased by the Sharps at some point. So it's an easement that maybe was vacated or something like that at that point and purchased by the Sharps. And so that's their, it looks like an outbuilding of some sort of shed building.
And how close is it to the post-development property line?
That is, let me get that, about 20 feet.
Okay, thank you.
On this, the slide that you have up there right now, is that the western boundary of Willow Creek and the eastern boundary of the proposed?
Right.
The red line there. Is that the
Correct.
only boundary? Is that the only boundary of Willow Creek that does not have the berm?
Yes, that's the only area. Sorry.
Because if that berm goes all the way around the Willow Creek subdivision.
Backside, yeah.
So
yes.
Okay. And Colleen, you are still there?
Yes.
Okay, is one of your HOA, one of the issues that you would like the berm completed on that side
Yes.
with the trees and all of that?
Yes, please. We're just concerned with a 20-foot setback, you know, the traffic with the cars coming through, shining lights in there, and it being flat, it would shine right into our properties.
Okay. Okay. Now, I would ask if that was a condition of this and it was upon build out, so as homes go in there, that the berm is completed. Is that, I'm sorry? I'm just wondering, that would be something that we can talk with when the applicant comes back up here. We can find out on that. Okay?
Thank you.
Madam Chair, do we have a representative from the HOA here, I assume?
I don't think so.
No.
Well, all of these people.
Okay, and, pardon me?
I was just going to say, you might ask if any of them are on the board.
Yeah.
Okay, and my question for that would be why that was never completed on the east side of that, because as part of the dust prevention plan, I'm in agriculture. I have active farm ground that's less than 20 feet from my house, and so if you wanted to help mitigate dust, I mean, there's an argument that could be made that there would have, if they had completed that, it would have been part of a completed plan. Thank you for your question.
That's okay. Anything else for Colleen?
No, I've got some comments, but I'd rather wait till after I finish testimony.
Okay. Brian. Thank you,
Yes.
Colleen, for taking the time. Brian, we need your name and address, please.
Brian Chick, 9550 Kemp Road, Middleton.
Okay. Go
You ready?
ahead.
Okay, a couple things.
Yeah.
One, I want to make sure people are aware of that there's actually there's two HOAs involved here. Okay,
Right.
the houses to the east are one group, and okay, let's make sure you guys knew that. And then the other thing that I wanted to reply to is the question about accessing Purple Sage from Kemp as a benefit does. None of us see it as a benefit. And the other thing is because of what was brought up earlier about the speed on Purple Sage between Lansing and Duff, I could see people sneaking in the back way through our subdivision just to avoid that, turning across Purple Sage to get into this subdivision. So the fact that I'll make sure I could see that happening. But the couple things, one of the things that's bothering me, I got a couple of things to discuss, but one of the things that's bothering me is to listen to somebody sit here and try and retry in front of you a court case that they've lost twice. Okay. And the other thing is we're talking about, you guys are talking like there's an assumption that we're going to be a public road. And we've had discussions here in this HOA. Nobody here wants us to become a public road. It's not our intention for it to become a public road. And we'll vigorously defend having it cut into from this subdivision onto Kemp as long as this is private property. Okay. So that's one of the ones that bothers me the most. And then in the first meeting that they had on this, they were talking Kemp, and then they came back with, okay, well, we'll do a stub to the west, okay, across the property that they, as far as I can tell, they don't have permission from there either, because there was two cul-de-sacs on Oakdale Court, one at either end, and then because of the Kemp Road conflict, they came back and opened up this second cul-de-sac to the left and said, okay, we could put the stub here. Now it's morphing into we need two stubs. And I just think this is a way to try and do an end run around, let's get the highway department behind us to do an end run about something we lost two court cases on, is what I'm seeing here. Okay, and it's frustrating, and more than a little bit concerned about it. And then the other thing that I'm concerned about is this meeting's no different than the last one. There's maybes. There's we don't have we don't have BCID's approval yet. Things that have admitted haven't been recorded yet. I mean, it's still maybes. And that's I think the reason why the last meeting P&Z turned it down, because it's still maybes. And there's still and I have a question. I don't know if you can answer a question for me, but what is the purpose of a stub road?
Dan?
In the future, to grant access to that road, to provide connection to existing roads.
It's separate and different from the fire department access, correct?
Correct.
Okay, because I was under the assumption last time, and I admit it was an assumption. I was under the assumption that these stub roads were listed on here to grant fire department access, not access to a neighborhood that doesn't want them having access. And a neighborhood that has no intention of making this road public, at least the people that are here now don't. So I'm kind of figuring out why the highway department is so gung-ho for a stub road there without somebody asking them for it.
Through the chair, this is a typical requirement from Canyon Highway District. Our highway districts to, as development comes in, they want connectivity in the future. So they provide stub roads, and a lot of times those stub roads never come into fruition. They just sit there until the other development comes through and they connect, or when they have an ability to connect and they use that stub. But until then, it stays basically as an easement in that property, and it doesn't become an access until it's available.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you, Dan.
Madam Chair, I might just address Brian here quickly. You know, I understand your frustration, but part of that is not with us, it's with the highway district, and we can't answer what the highway district is requiring or why they're doing that. So I'll pass on that and pass it on to the highway district.
And Brian, I want you to know too that staff realizes that there are maybes, and that was the recommendation at the beginning of this, but we're having the public hearing so you can state your concerns and opinions right now, okay?
Okay, then let me ask make one last comment. The comment I made earlier about the first version only having a stub to Kemp and then two cul-de-sacs turned into one stub going out to the west. Why did that morph into two stubs now? Did the highway department change their mind between these two meetings?
Through the chair?
Yes.
The highway district always wanted the two stubs. The applicant tried to fight that. They're trying to fight that stub to Kemp. However, Canyon Highway District still wanted that stub to Kemp at the end for future dedication to highway district in case Kemp ever becomes a public road.
All right, so since it's not going to be fire access, it won't have bollards, it could still have a fence across it.
Correct.
Is that correct?
And it won't even be developed. It won't be built. It'll be a grassy area, basically.
Okay, so that fight can happen later if it happens.
Let me ask you this, Dan. And what I've heard is that the applicant and Brian are kind of working in the same direction. They don't want access to Kemp, and the applicant has been, but the highway district is pushing this one, and that is their authority.
Correct. If you see the original letter, I think it's in Exhibit 1, Attachment E, I think. The highway district wanted those stubs, and one to Kemp and one to the west. The applicant was willing to do the one to the west. As you see, this is this photo here, or this picture here is their previous plat where they showed the stub to the east, but they didn't show the stub to Kemp. And Mr. Taylor was trying to assist the applicant by letting the highway district know that they have this court agreement, they really shouldn't do this, and besides other issues they were working with Canyon Highway District, that was just one of them, and so it was a highway district requirement that the stub be a part of this subdivision here. Okay.
Thank you, Dan, for the clarification on that. Any other questions or any comments for Brian? Okay, then we're going to go to, I haven't missed anybody If they're on the WebEx or something and I missed you and you wish to testify, please speak now. Okay, Darren Taylor, we'll go back to you for some rebuttal here.
Thank you. Would you like the address?
Yes.
Darren Taylor, 1434 New York Street, Middleton, Idaho, 83644.
Thank you.
And Madam Chair, Commissioners, just want to say, Brian and John and Valerie and Colleen, we hear you.
Jamie.
And Jamie, we do not want even the right-of-way dedication to Kemp Road. However, the Highway District is requiring it. The Highway District Board is holding a hearing on this same preliminary plat on Wednesday. The Highway District has not let us know the time of that meeting yet, though. So if one of you would be kind enough to give me your phone number or email address, I would be happy to invite you to that meeting, because that board is the board that needs to hear what you're saying. Regarding Valerie's question about the Stub West, we did originally think the west boundary is a stub road, which we did not want. The Highway District is making us have it, but that there could be a north-south road at the end of that that would connect Oakdale Court to Kemp Road. And the Highway District said, no, that was not good enough second access for them. That was not where they wanted to have the Kemp Road access. So that's why it is not, that conversation ended. Jamie Sharp talked about the 20-foot rear setback is not enough. These are very big lots. They're not going to build a driveway clear to the back of their lot to put their house there. I know that may not be a comfort to her, because it's not a guarantee. However, those are big lots. 20-foot rear setback is the county's code, and we will comply with the county code. Once again, we do not want the Kemp Road connection. We're doing it only so the Highway District will give approval so we can move forward with the subdivision plat. And I can't pronounce the last name, but Colleen mentioned 5 lots along the west boundary of her place and the Sharps. And as I look, Commissioners, it's actually starting at the southeast corner. Dan, can you go back to the aerial, please? There. You'll notice that the back end of those lots have nothing. They're just empty. So now we go back to the plat, please, Dan. Thanks. There. So the first, I'm going to say the one with phase 1 in it, that doesn't shine in anybody's front window. The one above it will probably have some light, although that's a full acre, and the house will be near the road. So 1-to-1. If you go north, now on the east side in the HOA's property, now you've got Willowview Drive. Go back to the aerial, please, Dan. Thank you. You'll see the cul-de-sac there on the north side of the Sharps property. Right. The one we're paving. So that third lot, back to the plat. So the third lot up on the east will actually be facing the cul-de-sac. One to the east. There, down one, there. So
it's cul-de-sac.
Yep, and there's the cul-de-sac right there. And then north of it is one lot adjacent to the Matichek's property. So even though there are 5, we feel like there's really kind of just 1-to-1, so to speak, in the any use of those lots in the Oakley subdivision won't negatively impact those existing.
Mr. Taylor, I have a question, and it's just one that I brought up during this, that through build out, if berms are required, that sort of a thing, is that a deal breaker? Is that something that you don't wish to pursue, or you won't consider, or?
We would like to have the same consideration that the other subdivisions have, and they don't have berms between subdivisions. So we would like to not have that burden also.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Question for Darren. A lot of subdivisions, when there are concerns like that, will agree to put up a site obscuring fence.
Yeah.
And that might be something to consider in lieu of a berm, because a berm is going to take up a lot of horizontal space as well as vertical space, and that would eat up those lots and make them under an acre.
Yeah, that's,
So I would assume that maybe if the applicant would consider a fence.
thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioner Dale. That's a good suggestion also, and I'm not sure what the homeowners out there will want for their fencing types.
Right.
I'd be more inclined to say, commissioners, how do you feel about, rather than a berm or site obscuring fencing, we do a 50-foot rear setback? Because that will keep significantly more distance from it, and it doesn't require this applicant to do something other applicants aren't required. And it doesn't get into trying to figure out fencing on one side that may not be others. So, good thoughts.
That's a good alternative too. Increase the setback.
I have just a couple more quick comments. Thank you, Madam Chair. Colleen noted on note 20 of the proposed plat, the homeowners association, underlying property owner or adjacent property owner is responsible for all storm drainage facilities outside public road right of way. That exact language was required by the highway district. I contested it also, and it's on the plat because we want to move forward, and in order to move forward, the highway district requires it. And for Colleen's benefit, and I would like the record to reflect that we do acknowledge that that means adjoining property owners in the Oakley subdivision, Oakley Estate subdivision, not any adjoining property owners in any other subdivision. The berm, if the commission, if the board is inclined to have a condition of approval, be that there be a berm constructed along Purple Sage Road. Dan, can you go back to the aerial, please? So that it would continue west from the berm that exists in front of Willow Creek, which was constructed almost 20 years ago. Then I would say, okay, we understand that condition and we're happy to comply if the highway district would grant us a permit to construct obstructions in its right of way. So just because they approved it 20 years ago doesn't mean they're going to approve it now. And please just, if you have that condition, please make a condition on us, our ability to get from the highway district, which has been a little obstinate on this subdivision. If we get that encroachment permit, yes, and if not, then we're not even going to be able to comply with that. Thank you. Brian made some really good points, and that's why I started my comments today with Brian. We're on the same page. We're meeting with the highway district on Wednesday. If I have your contact information, I'll make sure that you know the time, because the assumption the highway district has that Kemp Road will become public is based on Chris Hopper, engineer at the district, his assertion that he has received many calls over many years from landowners in Willow Creek Ranch Estates, probably 3, that are saying, when are you guys going to take over our private road and make it public? And I keep telling him that is not our experience and what the leads have experienced in going to the Supreme Court. And so I think if the HOA members talk Wednesday, that would help. We talked about the stub to the west. And I would like, and Madam Chair, maybe request, if it's appropriate, for Dan to revisit some of his comments from the very beginning when he said that there are some maybes and things we still don't have. My final comment is the fire district wanted a second access. We met with the fire district. They told us where they wanted it, and with the bollards, and we put it on the map. The highway district wanted stubs and wanted us to concede about construction of roadway widening along Purple Sage. We conceded. They wanted us to concede that the approaches for the 2 existing residences titled in the name of the landowners of the development would be abandoned if and when the highway district restricted access onto Purple Sage Road. or others, and we conceded to that. And the map in front of you shows it. We feel like we've complied with all the agency comments and requirements. There are two that have come to my attention today that I did not know were outstanding, but we will. And those are the two applications that you filed with DSD. One, for the boundary adjustment that included the two sheds into the lot next door. And second one was some sort of a shared access easement right away, an application to DSD so that we can maybe talk about having that reduced in width from 60 foot to 28 at the Lee's current driveway. And I will remind the commission that I said if there needs to be a 28 foot instead of 25 foot easement for the secondary access, happy to do that. We started with 25 because that's what the highway district, I'm sorry, the fire district was kind of saying. I didn't think about an easement for DSD. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any further questions?
I have a, sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted on the record to say that the highway district agenda is posted on their website. We begin at 9 a.m. and they have go-to-meeting instructions on their agenda.
Yeah, but they haven't told us what time we'll be able to log in and participate.
Well, you should be able to log in at 9 a.m. There is no.
Yeah, maybe, but they.
I mean, that's,
the email
that's a posted agenda.
Thank you.
9 a.m. is login on the website for Canyon Highway District number.
That's what's on their agenda.
Okay.
There's no other times listed.
Okay, thank you, Trish.
Okay.
Commissioner Van Beek.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dan, I have a question for you. How far outside is this proposed development from city services?
Say that again. I didn't hear the last bit, but you
How
said.
far outside city services is the proposed development?
It's pretty far away. I don't have a exact distance.
No problem. And then a mile and a half. Okay, thank you. And then you had a picture of the berm that was for Willow Creek Estates along, and it was a close-up. I'm just wondering, is
that picture is you see a little bit of Oakley's property there, and then as it goes into Willow Creek.
Okay. Is it a well-maintained berm?
Yes.
Okay.
Depends on your definition of well-maintained.
Through the chair, just real quick, when Willow Creek was approved, they did have a common lot right against here. That common lot typically was meant for landscaping, keeping a boundary around the properties to keep them nice. So there was something when they approved it, and similar down here against the road, against Purple Sage, there is a common lot there. That's where the trees are at. So it was all done through common lots back in those days, approved. So there was spacing there for them to put their landscaping up around the boundaries.
Dan, would you clarify what we're looking at here is that's the east side or the west side of the Willow Creek?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And that's supposed to be maintained by the Homeowners Association for Willow Creek?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, Trish.
I just want to add to the discussion on the berm. I always get a little concerned if it's done later in the process and not thought through at the beginning, because it can affect drainage, and I don't know if it's shown on the drainage plan or not. But it's very different from a fence in that regard.
Right. Well, and I would just mention that the berm that's shown up there is what, 2-3 feet? It's not very high.
Yeah. But it still affects runoff.
Yeah, it does runoff. It does absolutely directs the runoff. Yeah.
And I would just maybe reserve that since the county engineer needs to review the revised documents. I don't know, the berm is not shown on there right now.
Yeah, we hadn't contemplated that.
Okay.
And Madam Chair, in asking a question, it was not to motivate a discussion on putting a berm in. That was not the intent behind my questioning.
Okay. Dan, did you have something?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any further discussion? Any questions for? Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dan, will you put up that last image, please? Commissioners, I just wanted you to recognize that only 40 foot of right-of-way was dedicated on the south boundary of the Willow Creek Ranch Estates, numbers 1 and 2, well, 1 subdivision. We're being requested to give 50 feet. So our berm will not align with theirs if it is required, because we will be 10 foot even further north.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Thank you very much, Mr. Taylor.
Madam Chair, make a motion that we got some other?
We need to continue this?
Yes.
Well, do we need to continue the public testimony part too?
I think so. Yeah, I think we're,
Okay.
I'm sure.
There's
we'll
new
be getting
information.
exhibits that
Okay.
People will,
Okay.
need documented.
Yep.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
there's been a lot of good information that's been provided, and Mr. Taylor has referenced the outstanding documents. Planning and zoning has referenced the outstanding documents, and our staff report references outstanding documents. So I am interested in having more information that would give the board a better picture of what it is we're looking at to help alleviate some of the concerns on the part of those in opposition. So my motion would be to continue.
Right. Now, I believe that has been the sort of the assumed direction we're going to go, is to continue to get some of these maybes answered so that we're certain of what we're moving forward with. And I just want to say also that I think there's been some really good information shared with those folks who spoke in opposition under a lot of assumptions that have not been really proven to be true at all. And so I'm hoping that the folks in opposition can get together with the Lees and with Mr. Taylor and come to an understanding that as Mr. Taylor has said, you're kind of all on the same page here, and maybe can move together without the conflict and the angst that's going on here. So how much time do we need for an extension? Continuance.
Do we have a date?
I don't know how much time.
Well, to the chair, I wouldn't mind
Yes,
it being
thank you.
past the time of when the board of the highway district hears the case and actually gets us a final preliminary plat answer. So there might be some changes out of that. So there might be some revisions that come from that. I would like to work with Mr. Taylor on getting that property boundary adjustment done, and that easement, if that easement's satisfied or found satisfactory by the fire district and BCID. So I would like to push this at least a couple of weeks just to work with the applicant and make sure we get all the comments necessary.
Is that enough time? Seems like that's pretty compressed.
Well, the highway district is
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Or sorry, Wednesday, Tuesday.
Yeah.
And our survey would probably need a week to 10 days. And how long does DSD need to process our application?
Tricia?
I'm sure, it won't take long to get the record straight if everything's in order. But my main concern is that get a revised plan, the county engineer has sufficient time to review it.
Right.
Okay.
I'm thinking a month more.
Actually, I was gonna suggest on September 21st, Jenna, we have a 1:30 hearing, plan Brady or Timber Ridge. I don't know if there's any time after that.
The board wants to take it up.
Dan, what do you think of the 21st?
Well, I was thinking that we just recently moved that one vacation from the 21st to late in October. Maybe, is that still open, Jenna?
21st.
Yeah, the morning on the 21st is pretty open.
Do you want to just fill it in with that one? Would that continue? Would it continue item?
Okay.
9:30 on
The 21st?
That'd be Monday, right?
Okay, at what clock? What clock?
9:30.
9:30 o'clock, okay.
Madam Chair, I move that we continue this hearing to September 21st, Monday morning at 9:30.
Moved and seconded to continue this hearing to September 21st, 9:30 a.m. All in favor? Aye. Okay, very good. Thank you all for taking the time to participate. I appreciate it very, very much. That will conclude this meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you. I had to do the search for agenda.